Welcome to Talkin Baseball. We have a very fun interview for you, Matthew and Rob Lowe. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Baseball. My name is Jimmy. Sitting next to me is Jake. In California is Trevor, and behind the plate is producer BBD. We're coming to you live from the Roosevelt Studios. This will not be an episode of Trevor's Tidbits, which we usually do every Tuesday, because when you get Rob Lowe to come on the pod to talk Dodgers, to talk Astros, to talk baseball in general, you have Rob Lowe, and you give him the slot that he deserves, which is as soon as possible. Jake, Trev, we just ended this, and I think we all came away saying the same thing. That was a ton of fun.
Perfect.
A lot of fun. He's a star, man. Like we were talking about it after we wrapped up. As A-list as it gets, he's been around forever, like decades upon decades in Hollywood. Love it.
Yeah, we
and a real baseball fan. That's kind of like, look, we're not just going to bring anybody on. He really is into baseball. He had some great insight on the Dodgers, Astros thing. Him and his son, great. That was fun.
We met them briefly at California Strong charity event. And Matt's awesome. Rob's awesome. Rob's who you think he is. He was like getting intense for the celebrity softball game and like stretching and getting loose and like I think he was talking about pitch sequencing. And yeah, I mean this combo is awesome. It's if you sit down next to a guy at the bar and you talk about your baseball team, that's exactly what it was with a little bit of Astros hate.
Yep. All right, we won't make you wait any longer. Throw it right to there. Here we go.
We are joined by two of the few fans you will see in baseball stadiums this year. We got the Lowe boys, Rob and Matthew Lowe. Boys, how you doing?
We're good. We're so glad baseball is back.
You know, even if it just means that our cardboard versions of ourselves are there. But hey.
What does it say that our cardboard versions of ourselves at Dodger Stadium have better seats than our physical versions?
It's tough there.
I was going to say, did you get to choose the seats that the cardboard cutouts are in?
No, but I was glad that we're in the, there's that permanent camera shot that you hope you're in or don't hope, depending on what your deal is. But I was glad we're in that little upper left-hand corners.
You're in every highlight. It's awesome.
It's like watching regular season and you're seeing Marlins man there, but now you're getting us.
Yeah, perfect. You guys are coming for him. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, the last time we saw you guys was at the California Strong softball event, and Rob, Dallas Braden, was blowing up your hand at first base. So I just wanted to do a follow-up. How's it feel? Or is it sore for a while?
I was like, bro, you're not on the mound. You can take a little bit off of it.
I believe you had like a tiny glove too.
I should have had gauze under the glove. I mean, honestly, everybody who plays baseball knows that feeling when it misses the webbing and it hits that sort of sweet spot and you just want to throw your mitt and go, ow! But I don't think that was a good look for me, so I didn't do it.
It could have been all right. I would have been screaming if I was out there.
It was fun. That was a fun game.
Yeah, it's a really good event. I mean, we're hope to be we can be there again next year as well. Yeah. Flyovers, Malibu, that was beautiful. Hopefully we can have some people in the stands next year and I'll enjoy that.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to talk about the Dodgers. I want to talk about Dodgers Astros. I want to ask if Joe Kelly is your guys' new hero. Has he been? I see that. I like the shirt there. Were you guys dialed in for that game? Were you hoping that was going to happen?
We saw that live, and I was texting Dave Roberts before and after. And I love Dave. He's become a good friend. And what I love about his texts is that he always manages the fine line between a major league manager who is a major league manager and then just being a bro. Do you know what I mean? Who will give you the real. So it's great. But Joe Kelly, that was. I mean, that's instantly a Dodger highlight that goes up there with. I mean, it's up there. It's not Kirk Gibson.
It's not Kirk Gibson. Do you guys think that was intentional? You watched the game. He was all over the place. I'm on record as saying None of the pitches were intentional except maybe that 3-0 pitch.
Yeah. I saw your breakdown. By the way, I love your breakdowns. I think your breakdowns are always spot on. And
Thank you.
And I 100% agree with it. I do. I think look, I love Joe Kelly. I'm not sure he could pitch. I love him. Listen, I love him. Let's be, but I'm not sure he knows where to put the baseball. But other than that, I tried to get
We're there for his fighting spirit.
Yeah, I tried to get Dave. I said, Dave, here's what I want you. Here's what would be the best. Bring somebody up from AAA, bring them in against Bregman, so everybody in the planet knows
Poor Bregman.
what this is, and let the guy beat him, take his fine, doff his hat. He would instantly be the most famous and beloved Dodger since Roy Campanella.
Okay.
But that's why he's the manager and I'm not.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one. That guy, I mean, Joe Kelly got 8 games for that. I know nobody here really agrees with that.
That's bullshit. Because the other reason is it was not an obvious beanball. In all seriousness, that's the other part. I mean,
And he didn't hit him. Yeah.
If there's a guy, if there's one major league pitcher that you want, if you're in a dunk tank and you're like, I'm going to pick one major league pitcher to try to not get me in this dunk tank, Joe Kelly's the guy. Like, he doesn't know where the ball is going. So, you missed him, but 8 games it is.
I like the pickoffs afterward as well. I thought that was just rubbing salt in the wound. You just scared the hell out of him, throwing at his head, and now you're going to make him dive back to first. That was fun. I mean, do you think we'll have any more fireworks, any more excitement when these teams match up again?
100%. And I love it because if I had a knock on the Dodgers, and it's similar to the last time they went to the World Series. If you remember, before the 88 season, they were good, but they never really got there. And then they needed a badass to come in, and they got Gibson. So I think the Dodgers always lack a little badassery and a little fire.
Yeah.
I think that's always their issue. And it's an LA thing.
I was going to say, it's kind of an LA thing, right?
Oh, 100% it's an
so
LA.
Chill. Yeah.
It's 100% an LA thing. And everybody's young and cool, and they're great guys. Great. So I loved this. I thought it was awesome and exactly what the team actually needs. Forget the history of the Astros. Forget it. For the Dodgers, I thought, a little old school badassery goes a long way.
Well, we wanted to ask you guys some Dodger stuff outside of the Astros, because one of our taglines is like, you can't watch all the baseball games. There's literally more than 24 hours of baseball games in a given day. We wanted to know, is there any low house bickering? Like, is anyone in on Corey Seager and someone's out? Like, what's your guys' biggest Dodger disagreement?
We, as a Lowe family, were, until this season, I hate to say it, not the biggest Corey Seager guy.
Okay.
He was so injury prone. He hadn't really proved himself. He was so highly touted. And then you had Cody Bellinger over here, and it was always like Rob and I arguing with each other, like, when the time comes, who are we going to spend the money on? And now it's just like, well, this year, Corey's kind of come around, man.
Yeah. That's been the biggest, I don't know, surprise, but that's definitely been the storyline is Seager being the guy, at least so far, that everybody thought and said that he was. And Cody will get it together. I always think about, like, if you're Cody, think of it from his perspective. You've had this great year, so you have all that pressure on you to be just in a vacuum. You'd have that insane pressure. Then they go out and get Mookie. And then they go out and extend Mookie with him never setting foot in a batter's box.
Yeah.
And you're Bellinger. I mean, you'd have to have ice water in your veins to not get a little bit of the yips around that. And the only bummer is we're playing such a shortened season that I just don't know if the math is going to work out. Because over the long term, there's just not an issue. That guy is a stud, Cody Bellinger.
And Scott Boras is his guy.
And Scott Boras is his guy.
They're both. That's such a great problem. We talk about it all the time on our podcast. The Dodgers have too many good players. And and when you sign a guy like Mookie to a deal like they did, like, you have to be able to figure out the money with the other guys.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting process to see what they do with Seager, what they do with Bellinger. But it's like the best problem you can have in baseball is too many good players.
You guys, as Yankee people, knew way more about Mookie than we did as West Coast folks. I love that man. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the little things he does. He does things that superstars just don't do anymore. And
that ball the other day where he was running the base path and he's like, they were just saying by the arc of the ball, he knew exactly he could keep going. It's little things like that. Like obviously him hitting dingers and whatnot, that's great. But just the little like baseball sense he has is incredible.
I'm elated over that. Just elated.
Have you seen his highlights in other sports? I mean, there's like videos of him dunking. He's a professional bowler.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why he's a 5-tool player. He's just good at every sport. Like he's just amazing.
Yeah, he's got great. I just love the fact that the Dodgers signed him like they did before, and he showed me that he's also a great dude. And I love the way he's the first guy in the dugout steps for when other guys have hit home runs and stuff. I'm just so psyched we have him.
Where are you guys stand on the bullpen right now? Are you rooting for Kenley to lose his spot, test someone else out there, or do you still have all your faith?
We got a little bit of an eye roll.
Here's I'll say this.
Oh no.
And about 5 or 6 years ago, when I used to be in Dodger Stadium and I would hear California Love come on, I knew the game was over. Yeah. Now I hear California Love come on and I'm like, oh boy.
Oh yeah.
We are very much still in a game here. So I mean, God bless him. He's done so much for us and he's such a good guy, so sweet, but man, I just don't know anymore.
That's kind of been the Dodgers' fault for a while, the back end of the bullpen, or the bullpen in general. They picked up a few guys this year in training and traded for Gratterall. So hopefully they can take a little bit of pressure off of Jansen because he's such a big part of all of the Dodgers' success. But the shelf life of a back-end relievers isn't very long. So he's battling right now.
I mean, it isn't very long in the perfect circumstances, but then, he's had very serious health issues. Yeah. Very serious.
I'm rooting for him.
I'm rooting for him. He's a great – I don't know about all, but apparently he's one of the great dudes. But I also feel like there's this weird thing going on where, like, you have to have a successor. Even the best person needs a successor in waiting. And I don't know if they put anybody in a position to be the successor in waiting. It's like Urias is now starting, and I'm not sure that's any great experiment. I don't know. We'll see. He's pitching tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because that guy coming out of the bullpen might, who knows? I could see him as a little, Rivera in the making.
I like that.
I don't know. What I'm saying is I don't know how you audition somebody as the closer without making Kenley not the closer. Closer comes in when a closer closes. And right now, the only closer who's coming in is Kenley. So how are you auditioning anybody?
Yeah, you almost need Kenley, and it's hard in the 60-game set to get a slight injury, and then you test someone out. That's always what happened with the Yankees. Like whenever Mariano got injured, David Robertson stepped up, or Dellin Betances stepped up, and then from there they say, hey, I can do it. I did it that week. Mariano was hurt. So, Yeah, it's hard to bump a guy out because that's his job, and the confidence kill there. So that's crazy. But
I think
Brewstar looks good. Sorry,
I think they'll see who, if they get guys in high leverage situations like a Brewstar Gratterall, like the training, and he continues to do well, and maybe Jansen struggles, you could see a flop because look, the Dodgers want to win the World Series. I mean, that's it. There's nothing else. Like if you go to the World Series, no one cares. You have to win the World Series. So
I mean, I've seen one team, the team that shall not be named, celebrate winning World Series on our field, man. I'll never forget that game, being there, and weren't we sitting next to
Vin Scully?
Yeah,
we sat next to Vin Scully for the most painful Dodger game in history.
I'll never forget as long as I live. The 7th inning's coming around, and Vin gets up to leave, and we're like, Vin, where are you going? He goes, this game is over.
Oh my goodness,
we're done.
What is Vin Scully like in a game that he's not announcing?
Oh, okay. So this is the best. So this was the year before they put the netting all around first and second base line, and there was a big debate in baseball about how far the netting was going to go, and was it good, was it bad? And somebody said, well, a kid got killed at Dodger Stadium years ago. And I was like, that's bullshit. And then a light bulb went on and I said, wait a minute, Vin Scully's right behind me. And I turned around to Vin, I go, hey, Vin, Mr. Scully. Yeah. Mr. Scully, if ever there's a Mr., it's Mr. Scully. Was there ever anybody killed by a foul ball in Dodger Stadium? And it was like I turned the radio on. It was like, It was the end of a doubleheader on an August night. A young boy had made the drive with his father up from Anaheim, and Manny Mota stepped at bat and hit a line drive that hit the child in the head. The paramedics were called, and he was taken out of Dodger Stadium to a standing ovation. He passed away in the car on the way to the hospital.
Jeez. Awesome to hear him say that horrible story to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the darkest story, but told in that Vin Scully way.
Yeah.
Vin Scully bubble wrapped it for you.
Jeez.
That's awesome. I mean, that is. I wonder if I always wonder if in his head is he just announcing, or is he completely watching in a different style?
Here's the other thing, by the way, about the Dodgers. I love our Dodger announcing booth. I think they're great. I think to follow up Scully, I mean Hershiser and God, what's our guy's name? Joe and Hershiser, they're great. They're great. They're not the same. They don't try to be the same, and I love listening to them. They're great.
The Dodgers broadcast, no, not the announcers, the actual camera crew and the booth, they do the most amount of close-ups as you'll ever see a baseball team do. You guys probably watch it every day, so you don't realize. But when I tuned in, I was like, oh, my God. They zoom in on the pitcher's face. It's all Hollywood. It's like all the emotions. They do so many player close-ups. It's cool.
It's funny you say that because a couple games ago, ESPN covered it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the first. Might have been the very first. It was the opening day. It was opening day. And it was awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Everything about it was awful. The announcers were on Zoom. They talked over each other. They didn't know what was going on. The cameras were terrible. And I'm like, our local production is better than this.
Yeah, all the regional networks do a better job than the national. I don't think the national networks realize that. They missed the first pitch of that game.
Yeah. They did.
That's right.
The first at-bat. The first inning.
I mean, I don't have as much other local experience. The only other local broadcast I watch is the Brewers, and they have another great one as well. But I mean, it's so true. It's so funny how the biggest names just can't get it right, and you go down to the locals, and it's so much better.
Yeah, it's crazy. We saw on opening day Fauci throw out the first pitch. And it did not go well. Rob, you've had to have thrown out a first pitch before, right?
I've thrown out many first pitches, and not to brag, but like Ty Cobb says, it ain't bragging if you've done it. I've always either thrown a striker or even put it right there in the black. My nightmare is the Fauci, but I go whenever I'm doing it. I show up an hour before and go and pitch off the mound.
Now, is it nerve-wracking when you're out there?
What's really nerve-wracking is because we as civilians, you don't ever get to do it, is you go to the mound and you look at the catcher, but behind them are all the people, so the different colors. So the depth perception is what's really unexpected. Like, that's the thing that freaks you out. But I love it. It's fun I gotta say, it's pretty fun to do.
Yeah, I would guess.
I like that you do it from the mound. Are you on the hill, like on the bump?
No, I have a whole thing I do because
I'm gonna have to check this out.
Showman, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
not surprising.
Go the whole way. So usually what I do is I tell the catcher, I go to the rubber, right? I go right out to the mound. People go crazy for that, and then the catcher then comes up like 5 feet in front of the plate and gets in his crouch, and then I wave him off.
Oh, okay.
And I tell him to get fucking get behind the fucking plate, pal. And then people go crazy. But then you have to throw a strike. You have to.
Yeah. You're building it up for yourself.
So now if you ever see him do this, like, I know this bit. I know what's coming.
That's a breakdown.
For sure. Yeah. We're going to have to look at
We just got it.
Yeah. Which catcher has been like the most into it? Like, oh, I love it. Like,
I'll tell you, I grew up as a Big Red Machine guy because I lived in Dayton, Ohio, and I still love the Reds, and the Castellini family are great, great family, and they own the Reds. And I threw out a first pitch there, and Puig, having been a Dodger, heard I was going to do it, and he asked to catch for me.
That's cool.
Which is so sweet and great. So yeah, it was definitely Yasiel Puig as my catcher that was like the one who was most into it.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Wow,
yeah, he's as fun as it gets himself. So that's pretty cool.
I was for both of you, and this is as Yankee fans, we've had a really good team the past few years. They had kind of their one comeback season, and that didn't feel like the Yankees. Like it was kind of the upstart Yankees. You never feel that. And then the past couple of years, it's weird because we try to do national baseball, but we're Yankee fans, and we say that. And, last year it felt like our year. I know Dodger fans have felt the same thing. Is it, now that Mookie's there, does it feel more like your year? Or what are you guys, are you just blinders on, let's go get it, or what?
I think that it feels more like our year, but I also feel like this is a new team with a new composition from the same team that we've had for the past, I would say, 3 or 4 years.
Feels really different.
A good and exciting way.
Yeah, and I just think that everybody from, and again, I love Dave Roberts. He's one of the nicest men and smartest baseball guys. But again, there's nobody who's a fucking dick involved with the Dodgers. And I feel like in lieu of that, which I would have loved to have found somebody who was like that, I would have loved one of those horrible little Astro assholes to come onto our team, because I think we could have used that chemistry. But I do think all the nice guy Dodgers are like that. They're over it. They're ready to go. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to be the Buffalo Bills.
I think Walker Buehler brings some moxie to the mound. Like, I think
I like that.
Love him.
For sure.
I like
love
him.
him.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you, Matt, and Rob as well. When you find out the Astros cheated and all that stuff, and then you hear that stat that they did not have a single swing and miss at a Kershaw off-speed pitch, do you have internally regret for some of the thoughts you may have had for Kershaw after that outing?
Oh, yes.
All I know is that Jack Davis and I have said unspeakable things about Clayton Kershaw in the wake of that World Series that I wish that I could take back so profusely now, knowing what I know.
You can.
It's so sad, man.
Darvish too, right?
I remember saying, it looks like he's throwing batting practice.
Yeah.
And then I realized he was.
Yeah.
Because they knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Well, look, I grew up in LA. All my friends are Dodgers fans. They all say the same thing about Kershaw in the playoffs. It's not just the Astros that he had a tough time against. There's some other games.
But that game in itself was nuts.
Yeah, that's
Look,
tough.
guys.
That's tough.
There was a time when Peyton Manning was that guy. We're like, he can't make it in the postseason. Yeah. He needs to stop with all the gesticulating and just fucking play football. That was a narrative for a long time. And he had and he was allowed his moment to get over the hump. The Astros robbed Clayton Kershaw of his moment to get over the hump.
Yeah, I
agree with that. He's one of the best pitchers of our generation, like if not the best pitcher of our generation. So,
and he looks like he's good this year. It looks like he's having a really good year so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah, so far. You brought up the NFL, Rob. Now you made a lot of waves with your NFL hat. Do you have an MLB hat? Would you?
I do.
You better not. You better not.
I have an MLB. They literally within 48 hours of wearing that hat, the MLB sent me their version of it. I have it in my closet.
Did any obscure league send you a hat? That would be funny if some Lithuanian.
Oh, that's really good. What would that be?
Like,
that's funny.
Well, I have one that just says sports.
Yeah.
That's made for Jake. That's he needs that hat.
I love
it's
baseball.
Sports.
That's where.
There you go.
We're pretty basic guys over here.
Yeah.
This is the hat of hats. This is the one. I mean,
pretty good.
You do love that hat.
With everything I have going on in my life, it made me laugh that I'd be shooting like the season finale of 911 Lone Star and starting my podcast and my one-man show tour, but I would be holding all those meetings off while I was designing and personally paying for the production of Houston Asterisk hats. I mean, I really have my priorities in order, obviously.
I have a question that we get asked as Yankee fans a lot regarding the Astros. Would you like to see them in the World Series and beat them? Or is the risk of losing to them again so much so that you'd rather them just be awful and not even make the playoffs?
I want to see the Yankees more than anything in the world. So there's that. I don't want them taking the Yankees slot.
Okay.
There's that.
All right.
But if it's
I appreciate that.
If it's not, God forbid, the Yankees, then I absolutely want to see those guys. Listen, we haven't had a great old school rivalry in a long time.
Yeah.
And we have one now, like a real one. Like, these teams don't like each other, man.
Yeah.
This is great. This is Celtics, Lakers. It isn't for show. In every other sport, everybody's tweeting at everybody and figuring out when they're going to do an album together and all this bullshit. And like, this is what sports should be.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody likes the Astros. Nobody is like, hey, so-and-so on the Astros, let's hang out. Like, everyone says, fuck you to all the Astros. That's how it is.
Yeah, it's great.
That's
all right. I mean, thank you very much for joining us, Jake. You got anything else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, you can hype your podcast on ours, but I don't know if we have as much reach as your success has probably got.
I'm the new kid on the block. I'll take all the people I can. It's called Literally with Rob Lowe. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. And we this week is the great and hilarious David Spade. It is
nice.
It's so funny. It's particularly good. And next week, Demi Moore, little Brat Pack reunion,
Nice.
In Almost Fire reunions. It's fun.
I got to say, I'm a tough critic of his work, so it takes a lot for me to listen to it. And I listened to the Mike Myers one, and it was all-time funny.
We wanted to ask about Mike Myers. Like, Wayne's World,
He's
Austin Powers. Yeah, you got a big.
You should listen to the Mike Myers one, because the notion that he spends all of his time painting portraits of Colonel Sanders is the all-time greatest story.
That's hilarious.
There you go.
It's pretty good.
So genius.
I want to tell you this before we let you go. I've been serenaded by your voice for a long time and did not even know it. You are Simba on the Lion Guard. And when I found that out when we were researching for this, I was like, do you know how much time I've spent listening to Rob Lowe's voice with my kids? It's incredible. So you're like your range. Holy shit.
Nobody plays an elderly lion like I do.
No one does.
Damn.
Oh, that's awesome.
Love it.
All right, we'll let you guys go. Thank you very much. If we ever get games back with fans and you come to Yankee Stadium for a game, we'll have to boo the Astros together or in unison or something. I think we were trying to get that set up, right, Matt, with the Astros coming to Yankee Stadium?
Yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to the new stadium. I'm dying to come check it out.
Okay.
It'd be great.
They got nice amenities, but it's not as
We're baseball purists.
it's not as quainty as you'd like it to be.
They messed it.
That's a whole other subject. It's like when they tore down Giants Stadium and they built. It's like, this is what you guys built.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's all right.
I've been saying that about Yankee Stadium. They messed that up, but we won't get into it right now because it makes these guys really upset.
Yeah.
It's been a nice day.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Have a great one.
Yeah, guys. Thanks, man.
All right, there you go. Ton of fun. Matthew and Rob Lowe. Some highlights for me. The shitty little Astros, I think was his direct quote.
Yeah.
Then saying, I want one of those dicks on the Dodgers.
Yeah,
we need some heart on there. He said he liked the breakdown videos.
That was
he said
cool.
he agreed with them, so that's awesome to hear. That was cool. It's fun to see when we asked them, Maddie, and what do you guys disagree on? And they both kind of just went like, oh, and then we talked about Kenley and dropped their head. Was that what made Rob drop his head? That was a lot of fun. And like you said before we threw it to that is just a conversation with baseball fans. Rob Lowe is a real deal Dodgers fan.
Baseball, the emotions of baseball are relatable throughout the sport, and with the Kenley Jansen talk. I mean, every baseball team has felt that about a relief pitcher at some point in time. So that was fun. And the early, I was texting Dave Roberts flex wasn't bad either. I like that.
Huge flex. I've been thrown numerous pitches. He's thrown so many first pitches that he has his own routine.
Yeah. What do you think about that routine? That's pretty good. That's theatrics, man.
He's hamming it up. That's exactly what you want. Most people are so nervous. They just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
Being
Showman.
a star, he's a showman.
Oh, I forgot about the Vin Scully stuff. That was
Vin Scully.
wild.
He also said,
dark.
I turned around to ask Vin Scully, meaning he had better seats than Vin Scully.
Oh, wow.
Nice catch, Trev.
There was subtle flexes throughout.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, he's earned them.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Tomorrow we will have Trevor's Tidbits, and then on Thursday we will have another interview for you. Fingers crossed. We haven't recorded it yet, but we have it locked in. So it's a full week, 5-episode week here. Go share this with anyone you know that likes baseball and likes Parks and Rec or Rob Lowe.
Or Lion Guard.
Or fish.
Or Lion Guard. Or
Matt
fish.
catches a lot of fish.
Yeah. Matt does catch a lot of fish. You ever seen his Instagram?
The Fishtagram.
I'm going to go fishing with him.
Tons of fish. We're out. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time. Jake sucks.